Welcome to the part 2 of the employee leave management application that we are developing using the SAP ABAP. And of course, for those of you who do not know, you can watch the intro video and also the part 1 video of what this program is all about. Basically, the employees can request leave, and then the managers approve or they reject this leave, and then the HR or the manager can view leave. Even the employee himself can also view pending leave or his or her leave history. So far, the project breakdown, what we have done so far, we have created some tables, some database tables, and we have created the employee table from the previous video. Link is in the description. And this is the details of the employee table. It contains the name, the department, the manager ID, the employee ID. And so to continue in this section, we are going to create the leave request table. Okay. The leave request table contains the required ID, the employee ID, the start date, the end date, the type of the leave, the status, the request date, and of course the approval ID. So like you know, I've created a package to contain all the objects that I'll be creating for this project. And so the name of this package is the Z-Leave Management _24. And so if you open this, we're going to see all the database tables that we have created. This is the one we have created. And then we can also see the data elements that we've created, right? Now, to continue, we want to create the requests table. Okay? Of course, we want a video on how to create a package. Leave a comment in the comment section. So, of course, I'm going to leave this on I'm going to create a new window. So I will leave this on this current window. So to open a new window, you can just use Ctrl-N. It will open a new GUI window. So I want to go to the XE11, where this is the place where we create the database. So I also made a video on how to create database. The link to that will be in the description. And so we want to create the leave requests table. So if you are creating objects in the customer namespace, it must start with the letter Z or Y. So I use Z, leave _request, and then I just give it a unique ID, let's say 25. Then you click on create. So then we click on create. Okay. So what will be the short description? The short description is going to be, we can say employee leave request table. So since this is a table, delivery class is going to be master and transaction data. So we select A, and then we need to also select this display maintenance allowed. So if you select display maintenance allowed, that means that the table can be edited and maintained. All right, so we can click on technical settings. Of course, you need to save, Ctrl-S, and then I'll save it to my package. The package that I created for this project is the leave management package. Then I'm going to save this. Yeah, so I save it to this transport request. And then I need to select a data class for this. It is master data. So select this one. And then, of course, the size category, I will not be able to do this yet. Yeah, so I will not be able to select the size category yet. So I need to save this. Ctrl-S. So if you look below, it said it's saved. And then let's go back to the fields. Let's fill in the fields of the table. So if we go to the slide, we can see this. All right, so we now go to the fields, and then we need to enter the SAP client number for this table. So this is going to be a primary key, and then the data element will be the month. So if we select the month and then we hit on enter, you see that it's the data type is a client, description is client, and then we then fill up the other fields. So the required ID, we're going to give it a data element. So let's see required ID. We do not have any data element. If we go to the second, so we do not have any data element that is called required ID. So we need to create one. So let's just put the name as a placeholder, and then we call it required ID underscore 25. And so I need to create this data element. So it says that data element does not exist. Do you want to create this? Then we can say, yes, we want to create a data element. So what to be the short description for that? We can say that this is the required ID for the client, required ID. And then we need a domain for this. So of course we can use inbuilt domain of character length, because if we check our PowerPoint, the required ID is the data type is numeric character and the length is 10. So we could create our own data element. So we could create our own domain or use an already existing domain. Okay, let's check for the domains. So in the domains, we have domains that we created already. So if you want to know more about how to create domain, please visit the video on how to create database. So this is the domain for the request ID. So let me just copy this as a domain, and then I can head over to this and place it here, click on enter. So request ID, data type is character string, then the length is 10, which is what we want, right? And then we can check for consistency, Control F2. Before that, you need to save. So just save the object, yes, save it to the package and the transport request. Okay, we need to maintain the fields. We need to maintain the fields of our data element. So we can say this is required ID, then click on enter. Okay, so let's check. Control save first, then Control F2. So below here, I say no inconsistency found. And then we can use Control F3 to activate. So confirm. And you see that object is activated below here. Okay. Now we need to go back. So this was done. This was done. Then we need to create the next. So you can follow this method to create the data element and the domains for the other fields. Here are the fields again: employee ID, start date, end date. Of course, this leave type you need to enter range. I'll show you how to do that. Yeah, so you see employee name has been added, created a data element called ZZM underscore name underscore 25, and then the length is 40. Okay, so use a similar approach that we used for the required ID to create these data elements that were added. Now we need to add the start date and the end date to the fields. Now we start underscore date. Of course, the data element here, we can just use built-in, called that, enter, and it brings it automatically. Then we're going to have the end date. Also the same data element, that's hit on the enter key, auto fields. Then the next field will be the type of the leaf. We can call it leaf type. The data element, we are going to create it. So we can say ZZ leaf underscore type underscore 25. So since this does not yet exist, we need to create it. Before then, you need to save. And do you want to create a data element? Yes. Now, for the short description, we can say employee leave. Now, we need the domain for this. So now we cannot reuse any domain from here because if we check the description, you can see that the leave type has it has to be sick, annual, or types of leave. So we need to give value range to the domains that will be associated with the data element. So watch this, see how I'm going to do it. Okay, so the leaf type, we give the name, the data element. So this does not yet exist. So double click on this. Do you want to create the data element? Yes. Then we give it a short description. We can say employee leave type, right? Now the domain that we want to create, let's say leave underscore type underscore 25. So because this does not yet exist, we just double click on this. We need to save before leaving the window. Save. Do you want to create a domain? Click on yes. Now we can say, so the data type is going to be, of course, character string. So if you hit on the F4, search help, we're going to bring all the options that you can select from. So you can select the character string, and then we can hit on this and put it this side. So this is the confirm button. Click on the character string and then confirm this. So the length for the leaf type was going to be the length. Let's check from the PowerPoint. The leaf type has a length of 20. Here it is, length of 20. So number of characters here is going to be 20. So just hit enter. And then the output length also is automatically filled with 20. And so before we go, we need to also enter the value range. Why? Because if you check here, you see that the type of leave could be sick, could be annual, etc. Right? So let's add them. And so for the fixed value, we can say annual leave. So after selecting the character, you click on the value range, then you enter the fixed value for annual, sick, annual leave, sick leave, emergency, then the emergency leave, then the 1 day leave. Okay, so we can use Control save to my package, save to my transport request. So if you check this below here, you see that leave type is saved. You can do Control F2, consistency check. Say no inconsistency found. Then we can also activate this. You can use this button right up here, or you can use Control F3. So we are only interested in activating the domain, which is this one for now. So confirm this. And below here, say object is activated. Okay, we need to activate the data element also. That was why. So let's go back. So here you can see that the leaf type has character of length 20, description, employee leaf type, right? Now, if you go back to the PowerPoint, so now we need to add a status. We need to create a data element for it. So we can say ZZ status underscore 24. Because this does not yet exist, double click on this. Before then, you need to save. You want to create a data element, yes. And then what's the short description? We can see. And then the domain, we need to create a new domain. Why? Because the status is going to have to take some values. So the values are going to be either new status, or approved or rejected. So we can see ZZ status underscore 20 underscore 25. This does not exist. You can save to package, save to transport request. Of course, it's asking us for maintain field. We'll do that. However, this does not even exist yet, so I need to create that domain. It says this domain status does not exist. Do you want to create this domain? Of course, yes. So let's say employee leave status. Now, what is going to be the data type? Of course, character. And select F4. Select the character string, and then select the character string, confirm this. What will be the length? Status, let's say 20. Hit and enter. And then we need to enter the value range because we need to impute specific status to the description. So the specific values will be pending for new leave applications. Then there's going to be approved. Then rejected will be rejected leave applications. Okay. Now we can save this, save to package, save to transport request. We can go back. So let's save this, the data element, Ctrl F3 to activate. So it's activated. You can do Ctrl F2 to check again. No inconsistency found. Then we can go back. So then we have 2 more to go. We have the requests date and the approval ID. Okay, so this is all we need to do for the second table. So just click on Control Save, Control S. Control S, it says the leave request already saved. Then we need to activate. Let's check for inconsistency, Control F2. Maintain size category. So you see here, forgot something. Maintain the size category for this table. So let's go back. That's why it's always good to check for inconsistencies. So let's go to the technical settings. Here, the size category, I told you earlier that we will do this later. So click on F4. So this size category, these are possible entries. So the number of data records that the table will expect. Of course, this is a small project, so we're going to select the 0. So we expect between 0 to 2,200 data records. So confirm here. Let's activate or save. This is saved. The look below here is saved. And we can go back. Our table again, we Control Save. We save this. Already saved. Then we can do Control F2. Check for inconsistencies. It says below here, no inconsistency found. Activate. Control F3. Confirm this here. And it says object activated. So we have successfully created the requests table for the employee. And so this table will also involve us creating domains that have fixed descriptions. Okay, so this is how we're going to stop. And then in the next video, we are going to create this global class and then implement the method. See you in the next video. Of course, if you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.